watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Last night, Tennessee holds an open practice at Neyland Stadium. Supposedly 40,000 people were there, and there were quite a few there. I don't know if it was 40,000, but quite a few were there. Butch Jones called the practice out in the public an absolutely invaluable experience for his team. We'll discuss it today on the show. Let's get started. First segment, as always, brought to you by Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. If you're looking to sell your home, they are the group to call. Let me go ahead and show you this. For one, they can mention your home in front of thousands of viewers like yourselves. Take a look at these two homes right now. You can see both are having open houses today from 2 to 4 today. Go ahead and quickly jot down those addresses. Or you can go to Phil Cobble's website, philcobblehomes.com, and see more about those addresses. Both of those, one in Fox Cove, one in Fox Den, from 2 to 4, open houses today. Phil Cobble, Fine Homes and Land. Here's what we got coming up on today's show. First of all, young talent versus experience. There's clearly better athletes out there on the field, but is youth still a problem for Tennessee? We'll look at the numbers. Offensive line worries. With Marcus Jackson gone down, the expectations keep going up. I wonder how that is when Jackson is your most veteran offensive lineman. Where are UT's 9 wins? As I say, the expectations seem to be growing. It's gone from 7 or 8 wins to now 8 or 9, and some people are saying 9 or 10. And then later on in the show, which assistants are under the most pressure heading into 2015? Of course, Jimmy Hyams is coming up next, but first, let's introduce the opening panel we have right here. Bob Hodge, freelance contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel. Mike Strange, normal contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel. Chuck Cavaleris, Sketcher Sports, and also Kings of Real Estate.
Yes.
That's right. All right. Guys, the crowd was announced, 40,000. Folks lined up outside. There was tailgating. Fans are excited. I mean, there's no question, whether it's 40,000 or not, fans are excited. And I think one thing that a lot of them saw last night, and you certainly saw it on Twitter being talked about, is how much better the athletes look. You're now 3 classes into the Butch Jones era, bigger, faster, stronger. Mike, your thoughts on just the talent difference over the last couple of years or this year with what Jones is bringing into the broad program?
Well, going into last year, I thought last year's freshman class was the one that really turned the talent on its head and really changed things, gave Tennessee a different look. Now, last night, what you saw was more of same. You saw all these defensive linemen that are new this year. You saw a couple of quarterbacks that weren't there before, and Alvin Kamara and another running back. So, yeah, it's this just piles on to what he started last year with making this team more impressively athletic.
Guys, when you look at the athletes, I think that's why those expectations keep rising, but keep hearing the stories of they're more athletic, they're better talent out there. Is youth still an issue? And I'll give you an example. Steve Stripling, the defensive line coach, talked this week about Khalil McKenzie and just how impressive he is as a physical specimen, but he pointed out this guy hasn't played football in a year. He said he's raw. That's the word he used. So my question, you got talent. Is youth still a legitimate issue with this team, or is it time to stop talking about youth?
I think it's still a very legitimate issue with this team, and here's the simple reason. Go back to basketball season. Wisconsin, Kentucky, veteran teams, old teams. I think older guys, even if they're less talented, they have more, for lack of a better phrase, man muscles to them. They're bigger, they're stronger, they've got the experience. So when Tennessee goes up a team that may have lesser athletes, but more experience, more time in the weight room, I think it takes away that advantage just a little bit. Now, you're going to lose that as these guys get older, but I think youth is still an issue.
And Kentucky was old by Kentucky standards. Yeah. They had sophomores last year.
Sophomores and juniors.
Chuck, your thoughts, is youth still an issue?
Oh, yeah, because what you do is you look 1 through 22, and your starters, Tennessee's going to be able to match up a lot better. But as we've seen, as injuries happen and as you get into the second half, or depth is what is going to win a lot of these games, and that's where some teams are going to beat you. Until you're like on your 2 deep, looks just as good as a Georgia or an Alabama or an LSU, that's where it's still, to me, an issue.
Okay, let me put you up something I showed last week. We had an all VFL show last week, and I put this up at the end of the show. I want you guys to talk about it. Butch Jones keeps saying that 64% of his team has played 1 year of college football or less. this number seems to suggest Tennessee has more experience in terms of starts, actual starts returning, than any school in the SEC. Does that change your thinking at all?
No, it doesn't. I still think when you've got young players who are sophomores, they're still learning. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Let's take Cam Sutton as a sophomore, looked as good as any cornerback in the SEC.
Derek
just about.
Barnett as a freshman.
Right.
Derek Barnett as a freshman. So yes, there are exceptions when you're getting that kind of athlete in. But I'm gonna go with what Chuck said. You know, you've only got one Cam Sutton right now. If he gets hurt, the next guy may not be that up to speed as he comes in as a freshman or a sophomore. So that's a little. And did you see who number 2 was on that list?
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Okay.
Right now, 8 or 9 wins, man. Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Mike, your thoughts on, does that number change anything of your thoughts?
No, not really. 71 of those starts were by true freshmen last year. I looked it up for something I did. And the fact that, is this team still young? Yes, they are, because as I've pointed out before, when you have attrition, when you have, 8 guys out of last year's signing class, 9 guys out of the signing class before, they're gone. So you're perpetually staying young.
And it also shows to me how far this program may have dropped off because you have had that many returning starts and what opportunity there was for younger players coming in. And Vanderbilt, of course, went through a coaching change. And I think those a lot of times go hand in hand with the number of returning starts a year or 2 into the program.
All right. I think, though, the problem is the fans, a lot of fans, not all fans, but there are fans who are seeing that number. They've already seen it. It's not like I'm the only one that's shown it. It's been floating around. They see that and think Tennessee is just as good as anybody else in the SEC. And here's the thing. Alabama, LSU, Georgia, they have some young guys that play. But as Butch Jones said last night, I thought it was interesting. He made the comment that you need a junior/senior-laden team to win the SEC.
Yeah.
And I agree to win the SEC. But I don't know that you have to have juniors and seniors to win in the SEC. It depends on what's your definition. It's the difference between 9 and 7 wins in my book.
Obviously, Tennessee is probably going to win more in the SEC than they have in the past 7 or 8 years. So the young athletes are definitely going to help you. They're definitely going to improve with you. But I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yep. When was the last time a team that started mostly freshmen and sophomores and relatively inexperienced juniors won anything? Now, that doesn't mean it hasn't happened, and I haven't looked it up, but I would say that is a very, very rare instance.
In terms of championships and reaching the SEC title game, okay.
At the end of the day, would you rather have experience or talent? You'd rather have talent, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'd rather have talent, yeah.
Rather have experienced talent. Yeah, I knew where you were going. All right. When we come back, Jimmy Hyams joins us. We're also going to talk a little bit more about practice this week as a whole and also the quarterback situation at Tennessee. Quentin Dormady getting a lot of praise. We'll discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Quality, quick. Trust Fast Frame.